It's not a lie to say I've never heard anyone propose these 3 smoking hot takes before. So much so, I'm genuinely concerned that this time I've gone too far. Hey everyone, my name is Discourse, and today I want to give you my 3 hot takes on Warhammer. And I mean in a game sense or a setting sense, not a business sense. So we won't be going into my plans to nationalize Games Workshop today. Though I'm coming for you, Games Workshop. That said, I'm a little concerned going into this video because I'm worried it might be a little too spicy for YouTube or too hot for TV, as Jerry Springer used to run with. I am a little worried that I'm going to get lynched for these, so let me just say, I have no power or ability to change the setting of Warhammer 40k. I acknowledge that everyone obviously loves it. And if I could implement any of these changes, I wouldn't, because what I'm proposing would irrevocably change a setting beloved by many, and it would reduce the appeal to the casuals. And you gotta think about the casuals. But if I could wave a wand and these changes would be made without any issues, I'd do so in a heartbeat. So get ready to comment your disagreement, because seriously, you're gonna hate these. I have some weird opinions on what would make Warhammer 40k more interesting, so let's get into it. Strap in, this is going to be a bumpy ride. Number 1, replace all Space Marines with women. I told you this would be too hot for TV, didn't I?
You had my curiosity. But now you have my attention.
Okay, so I might have exaggerated this one for a little bit of shock factor, but you should have seen your face. Really, this one could have been worded something else. Maybe like, get rid of all loyalist Space Marines, which admittedly would have been pretty spicy as well, right? I know there's a lot of people out there, mostly Xenos players, who play pretend at hating Space Marines. But if you had lined up every single Space Marine against the wall and handed that Xenos player a gun and said, there you go, they wouldn't have the gumption to fire. But that's not me, I would fire that gun. But there is a lot of caveats to this, so sit down, stop yelling, and listen. Antagonists are more interesting and more threatening when they are in a superior position. Warhammer is currently in a very strange narrative spot right now. Primaris Space Marines are more powerful than Chaos Space Marines. That's weird. So when Chaos are going up against Space Marines, I'm worried for Chaos. Those guys are probably boned. They are not a cogent threat to the Imperium at all. Space Marines are superior to whatever Chaos can throw at the Imperium. So when I hear that Abaddon is on a crusade to get Terra, I sort of think, good luck to him. But well, he's a firstborn. He couldn't take on Gary, who slid out of the vat last Tuesday. Little Abaddon gonna cry. This is all wrong. Chaos Space Marines should be existentially frightening to face. They are the big bad antagonist to the Imperium. And they shouldn't exactly be a dark mirror to the Imperium. Because hey, I thought the Imperium of Man wasn't meant to be the goodies. Why would they need a dark mirror held up to them? I caught you, Games Workshop, I got you right in the act. No, Chaos Space Marines should be ancient monsters from a bygone age. The ultimate symbol of hubris of both man and the Emperor. When we gaze upon Chaos Space Marines, we see not only our future demise, but our past sins. If Games Workshop really want them to occupy the existential threat category to the Imperium, then they should be the ultimate badasses in the galaxy. Loyalist Space Marines just crimp their style. Also, Chaos Space Marines should be f***ing crazy. Half the time they should be speaking gibberish. These guys live in the warp, a place not exactly conducive to sanity. So this way you have Chaos Space Marines from the very days of the Horus Heresy emerging from the warp to wage war on Terra, assisted by extra-dimensional hell entities. That sounds like a much bigger threat when they're unique to the galaxy. So all this means, if we get rid of Space Marines, who then occupies their space for the Imperium? It's not the Custodes, obviously, because they're also just Space Marines. No, it's Sisters of Battle. They should be the elite forces of the Imperium. You know, the cut above the Schola You know, the cut above the stormtroopers. Sisters of Battle should represent the faction that writers use to show us that has hit the fan. The ones that show up when all hope seems lost. The elite of the elite of the elite. They are the ones chosen by the Emperor. And when you think about it, it actually makes a lot more sense for that to be the case. For one, they have faith points. So like they are the only faction you could point to the mechanics of and say, yeah, the Emperor is watching these folk. Hand of the Emperor right there. But more importantly, they exude the uniquely religious nature of the Imperium. They are basically a distillation of the madness that infects the state of the Imperium. And of course, they're much closer to the ecclesiarchy. Really, they reflect the satire of Warhammer much better than the modern incarnation of Space Marines. When I paint the words kill, kill, kill on the side of my Sisters of Battle Exorcist, I feel like that's more in keeping with the vibe of the Imperium than the cool, tactical style of the Primaris. Oh, and I'd actually make the Sisters of Battle non-gendered. But they'd still be called the Sisters of Battle. You know, because they were created by a clause centuries and centuries ago. Let's see how happy everyone is with the high heels when the guys are running around in them. Yeah, I don't think that design would last very long. And look, I didn't say get rid of all non-chaos Space Marines. I would just get rid of the loyalist ones. I would still have plenty of the traditional Space Marine chapters flying around out there in space. But they would be different. They wouldn't be a division of the Imperium, and I would emphasize their genetic flaws. For example, take the Ultramarine. Boy, they sure love to organize things, don't they? And they're really good at it. So good, in fact, that it is a massive flaw in their gene coding. They need to obey the Codex Astartes. They have organized their fighting style, their strategy, their tactics, their daily timetable down to the second. And they obey that organization no matter what, even if it is clearly unreasonable or would even result in their own death. They would do what is expected of them without hesitation. They don't have a choice in the matter anymore. Space Marines are not human. They are mutated super soldiers created to obey a genetic destiny. And every chapter would have their own thing. For example, Black Templar would be genetically predisposed to crusading. According to their headcanon, wherever they go, the Emperor has put them there. So any planet they come across, whether it is loyal, Xenos, or chaos, it doesn't matter. It's getting purged. Why else would the Emperor put them there? Makes sense if you think about it. Or take the Blood Angels. Yeah, they're super thirsty. Space Wolves, Werewolf Men, who are half feral, and so on and so forth. And every chapter, including custom chapters, could have an extreme flaw when created by the player. And this makes total sense to me. In fact, if I made this change, I'd be super explicit about it. The technology for creating Space Marines is really old and has gotten much worse over time. And the gene seeds have degraded. Turns out scripture and tradition aren't as good as the scientific method and laboratory conditions. Space Marines started as biological super soldiers. But after 10,000 years, which is a really long time by the way, of using the same sacred gene seeds, their strengths are now also their weaknesses. They are indeed the angels of death, utterly unknowable and completely irrational. And most people in the Imperium probably think that they act according to the whims of the Emperor. I mean, they don't know much better, which is strictly true. I mean, he put the quirks in their DNA. But the High Lords of Terra, the Inquisition, they know how batshit crazy the Space Marines are. And Space Marines are not obeying the commands of Terra. So what do you do about them? I think this is ripe for really interesting stories. But the focus should be on the humans who have to deal with the Space Marines, not the Space Marines. So yes, I would have Space Marines and they wouldn't all be chaos. But they wouldn't exactly be part of the Imperium either. More like an independent group of chapters who are the military equivalent of radioactive waste. Remnants of an ancient time. So that's the opener. I've pissed off half the players of Warhammer 40k. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel because I'm pretty sure I just lost half my subscriber base. Hope you're ready for the next 2 takes. Number 2, completely change the Emperor. Games Workshop love to say that Warhammer is a satire. Okay, sure, but one of the main problems I have with this statement is that GW like to paint the Imperium's worship of the Emperor as this sort of ironic, what a lark, if only the humans knew what the Emperor thought about that. He actually liked science and stuff. Yeah, I can't help but feel that GW think this is a very clever, very cutting takedown of organized religion. But I mean, the Emperor is a god. It falls down at the first hurdle. It makes total sense that the Imperium would worship the Emperor. It's completely logical. He really does seem to be a god. He performs miracles for the Sisters of Battle. He guides ships. Real saints pop up all the time. And the Emperor does protect you if you pray hard enough. You know, unless you're the poor schmo who happens to be working in a hive factory. In which case, get back to work. You don't get the whole dice on for the following turn. You don't get shoes. And I know the Emperor didn't want to be worshipped, but neither does Danny DeVito. Doesn't mean we're not gonna, and it doesn't mean that they're not both divine. Danny DeVito, more like Danny DeVino. Without the Emperor, the entire Imperium falls apart. He is central to their existence as a state. It's not exactly ironic that they afford him some reverence. No. There is a much better way to do this. And it's really simple. Make the Emperor just some guy. Not special at all, just some fella whose only real claim to fame was that he created some super soldiers. Oh, and myths happen to say that he reunited the Imperium, but who knows? Otherwise, we don't really know anything about him. I mean, out of universe, we can probably infer that he was some sort of scientist or biologist. He did invent Space Marines, but otherwise, you know, nothing. And maybe even hint that he didn't really have anything to do with the creation of the Imperium. That feels like it has a lot more edge to it. Oh, and out of universe, it should also be made clear that the Emperor has nothing to do with the Astronomicon. It should probably have been around before he was. It's just that as time has gone on, the Imperium has conflated the role of the Emperor with that of the Astronomicon. That is to say that the Imperium believed that the Emperor requires 1,000 psychers to be sacrificed to him daily in order to power the Astronomicon, but that's just incorrect. It's a machine powered by fusion or something. It's just a big automatic lighthouse. But no one knows how it works or what that technology is about. I mean, no one is allowed to step foot in the palace at all, so yeah, they just sacrifice thousands of psychers every day, pointlessly. Because that's what they've always done, and they think it works. So they go to great expense to enable it. Come on, that's way more grimdark. And it has far more pathos as well. One of my major pet peeves is that the Horus Heresy has been so well documented now that it's like barely even a myth. There is nothing mysterious or ancient about the creation of the Imperium anymore, because there's now a book series with 15,000 entries that carefully document what Rugel Dorn had for breakfast every day of the 31st millennium. JW have completely destroyed the mythology of the setting. And instead of just giving a brief idea of events, they're now focused on the same 12 personalities as if this is some Marvel Cinematic Universe. And these characters have to interact with absolutely everything and everyone. It all revolves around those characters. But this isn't Smallville. So let's pull away from all that, muddy the setting all over again, and make things feel big. And of course, just make the Imperium dumb. It was always meant to be that way. Number 3, get rid of your favorite faction. That's right, yours. Your favorite faction, right? I see you. Yeah, so when I got the axe of faction slaying out, I wasn't reserving it only for the Space Marines. Surely by this stage, everyone agrees that Warhammer 40k could use a good pruning. Snip, snip. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late to go squatting factions now. People are playing most of them and they have huge collections. So it wouldn't be fair to just get rid of them. As a Beastman player, I really hope that's the case anyway. But remember, I've got a magic wand, so let's wave it. Woo! I mean, I don't have an actual wand. You'll have to use your imagination here. Whoosh, whoosh. And some are gone, and some are staying. But who? Well, let's go through all the options and do the Commodus thing with a yay or a nay. Or is it yay and nay? I think Roman emperors would give a thumbs up if you were to be executed, and then a thumbs down if you weren't, but thumbs up are good now and thumbs down are bad, so. Anyway, let's start with Space Marines. Well, we have already talked about them. And actually, that's kind of funny. That means that this category probably stays. Which surprised me, I'll be honest. They're nice and distinct from the Imperium proper already, according to GW. Although I'd probably remove at least half of the supplement chapters and more customization for your own Space Marine chapters in the main codex, please. Thank you. Next up, the armies of the Imperium. And the first is the Adeptus Sororitas, Sisters of Battle. So if we were dealing with standard 40k, I'd say, sorry girls, getting folded into the Inquisition. But we're not, we're dealing with my version, which means that the Sisters of Battle actually get to stay as their own distinct codex. After all, they're now the big bads of the Imperium. Welcome to the 5th dimension. Next up is Custodes. Bye-bye! They're gone, sorry, they don't leave Terra. They answer only to the Emperor, after all, and the Emperor isn't exactly giving any commands these days. And in my head, there are billions of pilgrims who blindly run at the walls of the Imperial Palace every single day, hoping for the chance to see the Emperor himself. So the Custodes are busy gunning them down, creating mile-high walls of corpses around the Imperial Palace. Oh, another side take. I'd have there be an ancient line of janitors who live within the Imperial Palace, who provide upkeep and aren't allowed in or out, so they've interbred. Probably surviving only on the rats in the walls. And they'd be a complete side evolution of humanity who have never seen the sky. I'd call them Charlies. Next up, Adeptus Mechanicus. This is hard because I actually quite like the vibe and style of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Thank you, machine spirit, for our safe arrival.
But in terms of gameplay, I find it hard to justify their inclusion when the Tau exist. And spoilers, but I don't think I'll get rid of the Tau. So yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to go ahead and join the Astra Militarum Codex. Yeah, that'd be great. This is a bummer, but sacrifices have to be made. Next up is the Astra Militarum, and yes, of course, the Imperial Guard get to stay. They are the main Imperium faction. And Imperial Knights, come on, you know the answer already. I don't see the purpose in them. They're very interesting, but I can't justify Imperial Knights as a separate faction, sorry. Besides, they should be in Epic. And then we have the Inquisition have an entry here. Okay, obviously they don't have a codex in 9th edition, although I could see them being a faction before Custodes or Knights, honestly. Just make the Inquisition codex available only online, but you can't find it by searching. And same with the Officio Assassinorium. Alright, next up we've got Armies of Chaos. I'd keep Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines here, and drop everything else. So sorry, not sorry, Death Guard, and sorry, Thousand Suns. We're pruning here, and supplement armies are the first to go. And I'd probably rename the Chaos Space Marine Codex to something more generic, like the Mortals of Chaos, the way that the old fantasy game used to do. And I would put more Rogue Guard and Cult stuff in that codex, and take out some of the Chaos Space Marines. I would reserve Chaos Space Marines as the elite of the forces. They should be units who have lived for 10,000 years and spent it all killing things in the warp. They should be exceptional and absolutely terrifying when they take the field. More akin to how Custodes are depicted. Instead, there should be more of a focus on Chaos Uprisings. That should be the norm. Hey! And then next we have the Xenos armies. And okay, firstly, I'm going to take one for the team here. Every ounce of my soul is screaming no. But I have to say, if I'm getting rid of Custodes, if I'm getting rid of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and other fan favorites, I can't justify it. I can't save them. I'd fold Dark Eldar into the Eldar. Damn it! You were too young. Sort of. Ancient, really. And I'd do the same with Harlequins too. Just the one Eldar Codex. I'm sorry, brethren, but it's only fair. And I'm not saying I'd get rid of all their units. I just put it all in the one Codex. Just make the Eldar. Some of them are dark. Some of them are craft worlds. And some of them are dressed like killer clowns. You know, it's just their thing. Now we have the Gene Stealer cults. And again, this is a very hard decision. On the one hand, it's hard to justify them as a faction. They really are a split off from the Tyranids. But this is my hot take, I guess, not yours. So I'm keeping them. They get to be separate from the Tyranids. I'm letting them stay. And the reason for this is that they're probably one of the most unique factions in the game. And I think that has earned them a place. No one does what they do. They bring ambush markers and are focused around an asymmetrical warfare that no other faction currently also reflects. Gene Stealer cults have a niche. Unless, of course, you were to do some sort of Imperial Rebellion faction. Maybe a book that could simulate both chaos, Gene Stealer cults, and unaligned rebellions. That could be kind of cool, actually. Oh, we'll talk about that some other time. Then we have Harlequins. Talked about them. They're in the Eldar now. Necrons, they can stay. They're nice and unique. Orcs, duh, they're staying. Tau, they're unique. I'd let them stay. Although I'd have them focus more on the auxiliaries than the massive railguns. Tyranids, same again. And with all this new design space opened up, I'd return the squats. Because you can't stop me. And that's it. And the game would be a lot more manageable. And I bet you hate it, because statistically speaking, I probably said your faction should be burned alive. So, you know, sorry about that. And look, I don't want to roll into this video with some milquetoast takes, ones that you've probably heard about Warhammer before. Oh, Guilliman's not very good, is he? Or, I get rid of Primaris. Whatever, you've heard all that. I wanted this video to be brimming with my spiciest takes. The things I think about at 4 in the morning as I clutch my Nurgle plushie and listen to the rain tapping against the windows. What if there was no loyalist Space Marines? Would that be good? Well, maybe. And look, I'm not expecting anyone to agree with these. And by all means, let me know in the comments below why they're absolutely awful takes and what your changes would be. But I think my choices are at least interesting. Something a little different. They would make for a very different game and setting. And I'd be really interested to see what stories could come out of it. Also, I wrote this on very little sleep, so, you know, be gentle. And if you appreciated this fresh take on Warhammer, why not check out my Patreon at patreon.com/discoursminiatures. Hell, send me a PM there about why I'm wrong. Your support or angry messages mean the world to me, especially when I'm saying things that could ruin Warhammer for you. And a big thanks to my patrons who have financed this heretical manifesto. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more spice like this. And I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye!